agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement. Hello again, St. Lucia, and welcome to the program, Agriculture on the Move. My name is Philip Sidney, your host. Today with me is Mr. Kwesi Goddard, who is an agricultural engineer, and he is attached to the Ministry of Agriculture, but he's also the officer in charge of the engineering unit in that said ministry. Welcome to the program, Mr. Goddard.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Ladies and gentlemen, before I continue, I'll leave out a little secret, maybe those of you who do not know. Kwesi has some engineering genes in his system. He has the DNA. For those of you who probably don't know, his grandfather, of course, was Pat Brown, the famous engineer with a long legacy in St. Lucia. A positive man, is a man I know for many moons. So Kwesi acquired that DNA from him. And I'm happy that at least, he's an agricultural engineer, and he has done a lot of work with us, and he's still doing a lot of work with us in the Ministry of Agriculture. So Kwesi, welcome to the program.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah, let me tell you.
It's my pleasure to be here.
World Soil Day. Annually, it is recognized on the 5th of December, and that is this week.
Yes.
What is so significant about World Soil Day?
Well, World Soils Day is a sort of birthday celebration for soils, and with an objective. And its objective is supported by some of the pillars of the Global Soil Partnership and the Food and Agriculture Organization. Also, we have the Sustainable Development Goals and some articles under which include Zero Hunger and Life on Land. And all of these things culminate and are supported and are broadcasted or highlighted during World Soils Day. World Soils Day is annually held on December 5th every year, and its fundamental objective is to highlight the importance of healthy soils and the impact of healthy soils on food security.
Great. The theme, very appropriate. Tell us about the theme.
Well, the theme this year, I always like how the themes are put for World Soils Day. I think it is very in line with what we are trying to achieve. Is caring for soils, right? Measure, monitor, and manage. So in that light, it brings, in a nutshell, the whole idea of what we mean practically when we say sustainable management of soils. Because first of all, if we cannot measure, then we cannot manage. So we need to measure to know in our soils what is available, especially the beneficial articles to support plant and crop nutrition and crop growth, and therefore increase the amount of productivity we can get from our agricultural lands whilst decreasing the cost over time.
In terms of climate change, I heard you said it will also take about 1,000 years, to make what?
1 centimeter.
1 centimeter to 2 centimeters of soil. What's the impact of climate change on soils?
In St. Lucia, for example, and in our smaller islands in the region, we are mainly affected by two extremes. The extremes of water in terms of storms, hurricanes, major rain events, and in terms of droughts. And we normally need soil water to actually make the nutrients in the soil available for plant nutrient uptake. And largely in St. Lucia, we have a rain-fed supported agricultural system, which when we talk most times about irrigation, we do not talk about rain-fed, because rain-fed is not really considered irrigation, as irrigation is the transport of water from the source to where it is going to be utilized.
That's right.
But in this aspect, many of our traditional crop systems, like our traditional tree crop systems, agroforestry systems, depend very heavily on rain-fed agriculture. Now, the culture of agriculture, traditional culture we have, follows the rains and also follows land productivity. As you know, they have aspects we have in agriculture called shifting cultivation. A farmer will utilize a piece of land until he finds his productivity is going lower and go to another piece. That is also governed by where the season of rain, you know, from we say in June to November, give and take. Because of climate change, we cannot really mark it off as that, but it traditionally has been that. So the effects of climate change on agriculture is shifting rain patterns, shifting intensities of rainfall, and because of that you have the impact of soil loss or the transporting of soil erosion. Traditionally, again, we looked at soil erosion in terms of the physical aspects of the soil, how much topsoil you have, you know, and all that. And our biggest risk in that regard was the washing away of topsoil. Useful topsoil when we have major events, especially where you have on the topsoil is where you have all the major nutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, sulfur, organic matter, and the importance of pH plays its role in those 5 or 10 centimeters above the soil. So this, like you indicated earlier, in many cases on average takes about 1,000 years to be formed, unless you can utilize as well a regime of the addition of organic matter, you know, composting, you know, good favoring good nutrient cycling in an agroforestry system, as it is more prevalent in an agroforestry system. You get healthy soils, you get the presence of earthworms, the presence of beneficial microbes and macrobes. So traditionally, we've been looking at the soil as just a mineral resource. We look at soil as just, hey, the soil is going to be washed away. But until recently, with the approaches, sustainable approaches to agriculture, which is where we have to really be observant, right? They have also included the other aspects from the environment, including beneficial macrobes and microbes, and including the nutrient composition of the soils. Because at first glance, when we have a major rain event, soil is washed away. But on a microscopic level, when we analyze, we realize a lot of soil nutrients is being washed away, a lot of organic matter is being washed away, a lot of biodiversity in the soil as well is being washed away, and beneficial microbes at that as well are being washed away. And therefore, the resource in its totality now is being considered in terms of, hey, the impact of climate change on all these aspects of the soil in terms of major rain events. When we have major dry events, we have kicking of the soils, we have the soils being hardened, we may have, it's more liable to compaction and the inhibition of the cycling of nutrients. As you know, some of the most important nutrient cycles include the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle. And the carbon cycle is very related to soil organic matter.
Yes.
And that is actually considered in the world, I like to call it almost like the interstitial tissue of the soil, or just to make it simple, the lifeblood of the soil. So the more carbon we have in our soil, the more, by adding probably organic matter, manure, compost to our soil at a frequent pace, right, is the more healthy our soils will be practically.
You build the structure of the soil.
Practically.
Definitely. A while ago you mentioned the shifting cultivation. Would you encourage fallowing?
Following, definitely. It's definitely part of any good crop rotation. As in St. Lucia, we've modeled our agriculture largely on the traditional plantation system, which we inherited from the 16 and 1700s. And these 16 and 1700s, although it brought with it a lot of trained and skilled labor, right? Agriculture, for me, is one of the broadest sectors that employs the widest range of professionals. And you don't even have to be as qualified in agriculture to work in it, because there's always something to do. It's very important. It's the fundamental, the backbone of the economy, and the first fundamental prerequisite to industrial and other developments. So in that regard, agriculture brought with many skills from the beginning, but probably not under the type of leadership and with the objective of developing the national economy in a sustainable way. Over the time, we've alluded to these examples of things like monoculture, when you have one crop in an area, a massive use of pesticides and fertilizers, focusing on the crop necessities without the environment, and without scoping out where the environment can propose opportunities to utilize inputs from the environment and reduce the cost to the environment, to the people, and to the economy as well. Traditionally, the monoculture system brought with it all that. I mean, it brought with it a disguise of prosperity. So this has been etched in our mind from the time we left sugarcane cultivation and we came into banana cultivation, and that continued until we started to experience the diminishing marginal returns in the industry, meaning that farmers start to pump more of these inputs that we do not produce in St. Lucia, and as we're talking about soils, we started to increase our inputs,
high cost of production, because the granular fertilizers are based on fossil fuels, and the price of granular fertilizers, urea, NPK, all these prices are directly proportional to the prices of fuel on the world market. So as these prices rise, the fuel consumption gets more expensive, then these fertilizers as well get more expensive, as well as other agricultural chemicals. So there are a lot of practices that are used on the farms when it comes to soil conservation measures. Your division, your unit is involved with staff going out there to ensure the farmers understand that and to take the necessary precautions to avoid soil erosion. How are the farmers buying into it?
Yes, definitely farmers know the importance, definitely. Just loosely speaking with farmers would indicate they really need to understand what their soils have so that they can know what and how much to apply and when and if they really do need to apply. So it is a very, very needed intervention amongst farmers. Our department, we have 3 units, one of which is the Agricultural Land Resource Management Unit. We have also the Irrigation Management Unit and the Mechanization Management Unit. And all of them are interrelated in that regard as well when it comes to soil, because you cannot have drainage without irrigation.
Correct.
So, and we spoke about the ability of rain to actually erode the land. And so bearing in mind all of this, and the quality of water can actually change the chemical composition of the soil as well. So we need to have good quality water when we irrigate. So all these come together. But under our general objective is to optimize agricultural resources and help to improve productivity in production systems. So in that regard, we have one of our specific objectives is to optimize agricultural land use. So in relation to our first theme, measure, monitor and manage, right? This is basically the type of methodology we employ as well. So in terms of the measurement of lands, there's administrative instruments as well. You know, the land tenure, there was the National Land Bank Initiative we spoke about some time ago. And these things are issues when it comes to land tenure governance, because it is an underlying thing that can be a limitation to the useful, the optimal use of agricultural land as well. But that is there. So beyond that, we look at, the important thing we look at is agricultural land potential. Right? So normally when a farmer or somebody seeks to go into agriculture, they will want to know the potential of the agricultural potential of the resource. As opposed to land valuation. Land valuation is the commercial value in relation to the proximal land units.
Yes.
Land
all the factors of production.
Factors of production. Land evaluation now is agricultural in terms of what's the value of your agricultural property. Right, the nutrients, the topography, what kind of enterprises can it sustain, the land capability of your area. So sometimes we utilize instruments to determine agricultural land potential.
Okay, hold that thought. We'll do for a break.
Yes.
You're watching Agriculture on the Move. Stay tuned, don't go away.
Global celebrations. Today, we have a special episode dedicated to an essential component of our planet, the soil. World Soil Day is celebrated annually on December 5th. It is a day dedicated to raising awareness about the importance of soil in our lives and promoting sustainable soil management practices. World Soil Day is celebrated to raise awareness about the importance of soil as a critical component of the natural environment and to promote sustainable soil management practices. Here are some key reasons why World Soil Day is celebrated. food security, biodiversity, water management, climate change mitigation, awareness of soil degradation, sustainable development. The goal is to encourage sustainable practices that preserve and enhance soil health for the benefit of current and future generations. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Welcome back to the program, Agriculture on the Move. Of course, we are discussing soils. And with me, of course, is Kwesi Goddard, who is our agricultural engineer attached to the Ministry of Agriculture. Kwesi, activities in relation to soil management, your division is not alone in that.
No.
Okay? I know there are collaborative agencies that work along with you to ensure that, you know, we do what we do well to ensure that our food security is well maintained.
Yes, definitely.
Tell us about that collaboration.
Okay, well, first let us look at the different levels of collaboration. Within the Agricultural Engineering Services Division, the first set of collaboration is between the units of the AEST. These units, the water unit and the mechanization unit, all of us collaborate to try to actually bring about some of these solutions tried and tested and researched. Secondly, the second level of collaboration we have is that in the Department of Agriculture, we collaborate with the other divisions as well. So we collaborate with the Division of Forestry, in terms of sustainable land management, as we are responsible for guiding the people with sustainable land management options in the agricultural areas. And you know, these agricultural areas will border and overlap with forestry areas. And these areas where they border and they overlap, these areas are the agroforestry areas. And these areas are areas of interest where both parties are interested and collaborate. So in terms of these, we collaborate with the Department of Forestry, who is very strong as well in soil conservation measures, and we collaborate very heavily with them in that regard. Within the Department of Agriculture, we also collaborate with the Extension Division, Agricultural Extension Division. We collaborate with them in the way that they are stationed in all of the 7 to 8 regions, agricultural regions in St. Lucia, and therefore capacity building and extension exercises will be more effective through the extension services dealing with the farmers, right? So we do collaborate with the farmers, but it is our national mandate to operate in such a way so that we can decentralize the efforts from one part of the ministry and have all the parts of the ministry working together to bring about these interventions. So engineering helps out extension to help the farmers. We also do help the farmers directly, but the preferred way is that we help extension to help the farmers. Second, and after that, we collaborate with the division of the Research Division. The Research Division is who that houses the Soils Lab, National Soils Lab for St. Lucia, and actually carries out all the specific tests in terms of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, all of these tests, organic matter, pH. So they provide a level of recommendations to farmers as well. They do carry out soil samples in the field in various areas and regions. They map and they collect soil data and information. And in that regard, since we do some of that same work, we collaborate very heavily when it comes to projects like, you know, the soil care project and other projects, interventions from the University of the West Indies, McGill University, and other partners.
Tell us about the soil care project.
Right. So the soil care project is a project that was in line with the same theme about measure, monitor, and manage. And this soil care project is a project that's happening in the region amongst about 8 of our countries, including Haiti, including Dominica, St. Vincent, Antigua, St. Lucia, Grenada. All of these countries are simultaneously carrying out measures to measure, monitor, and map their progress. So we started initially with the project with actually carrying out an island-wide soil sample survey, right, of point sampling, and that had not been done for many years.
Correct.
So they were actually boasting that it has been the first intervention since 1966 to cover the whole island. So we were successful in carrying out that survey last year, where we scoured the whole area, and that's one area where we collaborated with research with forestry as well to cover the whole areas from the agricultural areas go right up to the forestry areas of St. Lucia. So we were able to carry out these soil samples. In some areas we were able to do some visual soil assessments, and these visual soil assessment sites were the sites where we utilized to train farmers. Okay. So we train farmers utilizing another instrument of the Food and Agriculture Organization, who is actually partnering with the Partnership Initiative for Sustainable Land Management, and these are two international organizations that we partner with, right? The PISLM, which is Partnership Initiative, right, is regionally supportive of the Caribbean countries in that regard. In the soil care project, they are the executioners of the project, and between them and the FAO, they operate through GSP focal points, Global Soil Partnership focal points, okay, right, to keep the awareness going and to be aware of what projects are going on and try to get support for their countries in these projects. So we collaborate with these international organizations as well, and in St. Lucia we also collaborate with the Sustainable Development, the Sustainable Division of Sustainable Development, Ministry of Sustainable Development, in the areas of biodiversity. Right. So because remember, we're speaking now not traditionally about sustainable soil management. We're looking at improving the relationships that exist in the soil microflora and fauna that helps productivity.
Correct.
Our objective is to reduce this massive annual importation of chemical fertilizers that we do not produce, that are increasing in price every year, and that's to a level is impacting negatively our environment and our soils in terms of
if not used sustainably.
If not used sustainably.
In that soil care project, at the end of the day, will there be a new soils map?
Yes, there will be one.
Okay, because I know we have had that soils map there for many moons, right? So that will be replaced.
Well, it's not so much.
Or will it complement?
Complement. Yeah. I would put it in a way that is upgraded, because it is something that needs to be done continuously, always being upgraded. Because the thing is, you have in soils, generally what you have is physical characteristics of the soil, and you have the chemical characteristics. So the physical characteristics, that's traditionally we speaking now, the physical characteristics of the soil, in terms of classification, what types of soils they are, they don't really change over time. But the chemical characteristics of the soil do change over time. As you know, you plant crops, the crops extract nutrients, and it varies. So you have to add back the nutrients that your crops extract. So these parameters we need to consistently be monitoring, right? So we're measuring, now we're going to monitor the status of these. Right? So it is the role, or it is the responsibility of each farmer as well to keep a tab on that, measure, make sure you carry out, or you get someone who can carry out soil samples, or you contact the ministry to carry out some soil samples. You measure your soils, you get them tested.
Then you monitor.
You know what it is. And your monitoring is that in these same areas where you sampled your soils, or you made a little 3-meter cube square in your land, that you can see the layers of soil and the profile of the soil, right? You monitor these over time. So this year, or maybe every 6 months, you come back to these same areas. In the points where you took point samples, you take them again, and then you send them to be measured. So then you can watch, hey, what's the levels of my carbon, what's the level of my organic matter,
nutrient levels, everything.
Right.
Yes.
But you always still could draw a reference on what should be a standard for a healthy soil.
Exactly.
So you know, okay, a healthy soil is supposed to have about 5% organic matter. It's supposed to have the amount of water, 25% air, 25% water, and 45% mineral. You try and look at that. And in terms of pH, you try to maintain your pH between 5.5 to 6.5, right?
Yeah.
So between that now, when you measure, you can always look for or seek guidance and instruction on how to maintain your soils in that range to be healthy generally.
Moving forward for the program for this Soils Day, what you have?
Well, for World Soils Day will be an interesting one. I'm also always happy when it comes to World Soils Day. We may even have a theme song during that time. Who knows? But World Soils Day this December 5th will be at the Union Orchid Gardens this time around. So at this event we'll have major key speakers. We will also have Mr. Julius Polius with us.
Oh yes.
So Mr. Julius Polius,
Yeah,
I mean he's like
serious soil scientist.
right. I mean, you know, I would call him one of the you know, the historians, giants, yes, in the work of soils. When nobody thought soils was important, this was his world, you know, and he has served in many capacities in the ministry, including soil science, and I think even permanent secretary. Yes, so he's up to now still doing work in soils, and every now and then we collaborate and we discuss soil ideas. I mean, this was, I could say, my grandfather in soils.
True.
In soils.
Yes.
So I was always happy to take guidance and to take, you know, direction from a strong stalwart in the field of soils.
So we'll hear from him.
We will definitely hear from him. We will also have keynote little speeches and events as well, activities in soil, sustainable soil management. We will have some items on display. We will also look at some infographics. We will have a little introduction to what we call the Global Soil Doctors Program, which is a very practical program, which would help us to resolve the issue of helping to build capacity on a national scale in actual visual soil assessments and sustainable soil management for farmers.
Great. Well, any final words from you in 2 seconds?
Well, you know, agriculture, you know, we were all created from soil according to what the good book says, you know. So by the sweat of our brow, I mean, we need to preserve our soils from our gardens to our farms and bring everything from there to our tables. How we treat our soil is how our food going to treat us.
True.
You know.
True.
So in that regard, you know, agriculture is the first fundamental prerequisite to industrial and other development. So let's take it seriously. Let's care for our soils and let's do what we can to make our nation healthy and strong.
Chrissy, thank you very much for being here.
All right.
And I'm looking forward for, on the 5th, to enjoy what you have in store for us.
All right. Looking forward to it as well.
You've been watching Agriculture on the Move. Thank you for viewing the program. And remember, agriculture is our business. Eat fresh, St. Lucia's best. The soil is the best. Keep it going. I'm Philip Sidney. Goodbye.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.